when you have something like what has occurred in Michigan, you got to make time. And this is the moment where we make time. So I'm going to take you back to last Wednesday when ESPN reported a 90-minute phone call or teleconference, Zoom call, had been had with Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, where the vast majority of Big Ten coaches wanted to know what the Big Ten was going to do about what it believes Michigan has done, which is allegedly cheat, right? Sign stealing. I said it. They got caught cheating, okay? We got mountains of evidence that's saying that they did. And what I've also said is we're going to have to see if the Big Ten or the NCAA does something about this in the short term, because NCAA investigators are also in Ann Arbor gathering information, trying to figure out what happened, how it happened, and what punishment should be. Meanwhile, the Big Ten does have an apparatus that they could use to do something. Now, according to ESPN, they could lean on their unsportsmanlike conduct policy and Tony Petitti could do something. But what and how? I mean, also against due process, I don't think that's going to happen, right? But I think it is worth really examining what Michigan is alleged to do and who is alleged to have done it. Okay, so they broke the in-person opponent scouting and using electronic equipment rule set by the NCAA to sign steal. This sign stealing was led by Connor Stallions, who was associated with Michigan in some capacity that did not have to do with wearing a headset, but certainly had to do with standing next to, say, Jesse Minter, telling people whether or not it was run or pass. He has since resigned his post on Friday, but we got also evidence that kind of led to that. The NCAA has been investigating them basically since October. The second week of October 19th, we got a former D3 coach who also told ESPN he was paid by Stallions to video games at multiple Big Ten schools. We got Stallions purchasing tickets to games at 12 of 13 Big Ten opponents and tickets to more than 35 games and at least 17 stadiums over the last 3 years. And we got Michigan going 33-3 in the time frame for which Connor Stallions has purchased these tickets. Before that, we have Michigan going 22-11. Big Ten play, they were also pretty good, right? They're awesome. We're talking about them going 22-1 in Big Ten play since the alleged sign stealing. We got them going 21-11 overall and 16-8 in Big Ten play before that. That's the statistic that I would be most worried about if I was Michigan. You have certainly had an advantage here because we got wins and losses to show for it. Now, on the football field, at least in the last few games where there has not been a Connor Stallions, Michigan has done nothing but throttle the teams it plays, right? And we got Ryan Walters, who went on record going, we want to see something done. But he also went on record the week that Purdue had to play Michigan. And I kept watching that game. It was 20-6 for the whole longest time. And then Michigan just decided to open up a gap, right? And I got to see J.J. McCarthy kind of sort of play in the fourth quarter. That's the other reason why this is a big deal. Michigan is fresh, right? Michigan is not really been challenged, so they get to go sit down guys that otherwise would have had miles on them, like, say, Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards, right? Or Tyler Moore, or even J.J. McCarthy, to say nothing of that defense that has been outstanding, right? That's another way in which you could see this as a competitive advantage. I don't think we're really arguing about that. What we are trying to suss out is why it is unlikely for the NCAA to, say, come up with something to do about Michigan, because their process usually takes about 4 to 7 months for them to just gather the information that they need, and then probably another 4 months to try to figure out through its judicial process such that it is what they can do. Now, other problem that the NCAA has is they don't have any subpoena power, which means if you go up to their door, if the NCAA knocked on the proverbial door that is Michigan, and Michigan wanted to say, go away, there's nothing the NCAA could do about it. Now, you also want to be considered a good actor among NCAA membership, and this is going to ring out for others. People might not want to, do business with you, associate with you, and that's pretty much where Big Ten coaches are now. But what I thought was really kind of fun and interesting about all of this is Dan Wetzel at Yahoo Sports had a report, he reported about what was going on with Connor Stallions. But we had Go Blue telling us, hey, we think that at the bottom of this might have been initiated by private investigators that were hired by private citizens, which is another way of saying boosters will do booster stuff whenever you ask them, because they look at a team like Michigan, who was awesome last year and awesome the year before that, and say they must be cheating. What I find funny about this is they were kind of right this time. And that's where we are. So now that we know what they are accused of and how difficult it is to suss out anything say before the college football playoff, what does it mean for the college football playoff? Now, they are eligible to play in the national championship game because nothing has happened to them. There's been no ruling against Michigan. And Bill Hancock, who runs college football playoff, has said as much. What I find interesting about this is that James Madison, who is undefeated and I think should be a top 25 team, is not. Why? Because they are not eligible to play in a bowl game because Charlie Baker would not allow for them to get an exemption to play in a bowl game this year. So because they're ineligible to play in a bowl game, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee cannot rank them. That's how wild the sport is right now. So we got some moving and shaking that we have to do. We have to get this sport into 2023, let alone 2024. Now, I think there's a way for us to ensure that something like stealing signs never happens at this magnitude ever again in the sport of college football. You want to hear? Want to hear what it is? Want to hear what it is? It is a solution that the NFL has adopted for 30 years. It's called putting a headset in one player's ear on either side of the ball so that you can just verbally communicate what the play call is. And so you don't have to hold up signs of Big Mouth or Daenerys Targaryen or Snoop to communicate what you think the play should be. It's wild to me that college football has not implemented headset to helmet one-way communication because it's been there for 30 damn years. Now, would you think that it's because, well, they can't get into college? Far from it. So your boy looking at this going, all right, let's say you want to do something about this right now if you're the Big Ten. Can you outfit everybody with one-way communication? So I called up the owner of CoachCom, who services 120 of 133 FBS teams with the headsets that coaches wear on the sidelines. And I said, did you guys come up with some technology that could mirror something like what the NFL has done? It's like, not only have we done it, RJ, we did it in the Bayou Classic in 2021. The technology is called Player X. So Southern and Grambling got to communicate to their quarterbacks and defensive play caller on either side of the ball without signals. And I said, did you get any hitches in the technology? Did anybody report that it didn't go well? No. It worked as it should. And I love Mr. Amos because he's old school. He's from Auburn, Alabama. And he would tell me, RJ, you know what you coaches don't like? The friction that goes along with technology. So you got to make it point and play. You got to be able to push a button, talk, and have people hear you. That is what we have done. He didn't go into the specifics of how they have done it, just that they can. And these ideas that it voids the warranty in helmets, no, not really, right? This idea that it's too expensive, not really. What you run into here is you have teams that want to use this technology. But if there's not an NCAA rule that allows them to, they're going to spend a lot of money on something they can't use. And nobody wants to spend a lot of money on something they can't use. So what are we going to do in the bowl season? Well, for the first time, teams that want to use this Player X technology, one-way communication between play caller and play caller on the field, will be able to use it in bowl games not named the College Football Playoff. So we're going to get a wide sample of what this is. Now, even if Tony Petitti just wanted to snap his fingers and say, all right, I want to put one-way communication into all of the teams, it would still take the folks at CoachCom a few weeks to outfit everybody and to get everything set up. So it's not really feasible to get it done in the regular season. But I think the bigger problem here is Michigan is really seeded to make the College Football Playoff, where, you'll still have to send in signals to your play callers on the field. Now, Texas Christian came up with a way to get around this just by changing their signals. There were reports that Connor Stallions was even holding a sheet of paper that had their signals on it on the sideline during that game. They sent in dummy calls, and they worked against Michigan. I think that this is on its way, and I think it should be on its way. I think by 2024, if you play in a Power 5 conference, there's no reason why you can't pony up and buy this technology if you should want to, right? I understand that some other teams and other programs won't be able to afford this, but other teams and other programs can't really afford football. As a matter of fact, I believe there are just 10 college institutions that make money from football, but that's not why we play football. We play football because it is a huge marketing engine for the sport. Matter of fact, you want to see your ACT go up at your respective institution? Have a winning football team. Try sending your kid to Alabama right now. You will be shocked at what the ACT has to be to get admitted. Nick Saban did that, not the University of Alabama. And you know who's not confused about that? The University of Alabama Regents, all right? If it's important to you to win football games, you will go get this technology. If it's important to you that your signs don't get stolen, and it's important to you that other people don't come to you going, hey, dog, just make harder signs, then you go get this technology. One more, and then we will get off this subject, but I think this is important. I'm a catcher, which means that I'm used to having to come up with indicators and signals that other people can't pick up, or at least can't pick up easily. And if you know somebody's good at cracking your signals, you got to go through a million different indicators, and you're probably going to confuse the mule on the hill pitcher who just won't rocket fire when I tell him to rocket fire, who want to shake you off, and now you're shaking off, and you got to go through the signals all over again, giving other people opportunities to steal your signals. So every time you see a player go like this on a football field because they didn't get the signal, you're giving somebody else yet another opportunity to steal from you. This is a problem, okay? It's such a problem that in baseball, Houston Astros got the what for and the what how, because this is such a big deal. If you're stealing them straight up, nobody's going to pick a fight with you. But if you're using electronic technology, you put this vast network of people out trying to steal from other people to give you an edge in games, and then you go do this, it's really difficult for people to not just take you seriously, but to believe you're telling the truth, and that ruins any relationship. We have to be able to believe you're being honest and authentic. Otherwise, you are threatening the integrity of the game, and there is nothing more important than the integrity of the game.
If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.